Yes. So let's start. Prabandha?
Uh, Hi everybody. I'm Prabandha Raul, and I'm welcoming you on behalf of Soulful Journeys and Aranyachar. Uh, what exactly Soulful Journey means? Everyone wish to travel. Everyone travels a lot. पण कसं आहे ना की ट्रॅव्हल हा आता आहे ना थोडासा सेल्फी घेणं, फोटो काढणं एवढाच मर्यादित राहिलाय. बट ऍक्च्युली तेवढंच आहे का? ट्रॅव्हल इज समथिंग बियॉन्ड. ट्रॅव्हल इज something experiencing. It is not all about reaching destination, but experiencing the journey altogether. मला असं वाटतं की गेल्या वर्षामध्ये सोलफुल जर्नीजचे मी ऍक्टिव्हिटीज बघतोय, उपक्रम बघतोय, ते थोडेसे हटके आहेत, सगळ्यांपेक्षा वेगळे आहेत. म्हणजे की असंच घेऊन चाला ना की जर का सायकलिंग आहे तर इट्स नॉट अबाउट की मी कुठले सायकलवर ना कुठे जातोय. त्यापेक्षा इको फ्रेंडली आहे का, आपण जिथे जातोय त्या साईट हेरिटेज साईट्स आहेत का, अशा प्रकारचा जो एक्सपिरियन्स आहे तो बऱ्याचशा ऍक्टिव्हिटीज मधून दिसून येतो. आणि एक विशेष गोष्ट मला जाणवली की अरण्याचर, अनिकेत गुप्ता आणि सोलफुल जर्नीज, अरण्याचर आणि सोलफुल जर्नीजच्या बऱ्याचशा सिनर्जीज मॅच होतात. त्यांच्या दोघांचेही मोठो चांगले आहेत की जर्नी किंवा ट्रॅव्हल. सपोज नाही, मला एखादी बर्ड सँक्च्युरी बघायला जायचंय, तर मला कुठल्या पक्षाचे किती फोटो काढले किंवा कुठले पक्षी आहेत हे आयडेंटिफाय करता येण्यापेक्षा त्यांच्या साऊंड वेव्स काय आहेत, ते कम्युनिकेट कशा प्रकारे करतात, असं थोडंफार एज्युकेशनल म्हणता येईल. किंवा समथिंग that is not that is not a part of routine life. तर हे मला विशेषतः जाणवलं सोलफुल जर्नीजच्या आतापर्यंतच्या सगळ्या उपक्रमांमध्ये. आणि आय फील की आता या दोघांनी जॉईंटली एक छान उपक्रम चालू केलाय. इट इज लाईक आय थिंक सोलफुल कन्व्हर्सेशन्स. these all conversations are they are putting in front of you with the hardcore people. I should say those all people are celebrities in that particular sector. कारण का की कसं होतं की फक्त मोठी मोठी नावं आहेत ट्रॅव्हल अँड टुरिझमची, आणि बरेचसे त्यांचे ब्रँड अँबॅसेडर असतात, या सगळ्या गोष्टी ठीक आहेत. पण एखादा टॉपिक आहे जसं की अॅग्रो टुरिझम म्हणा, किंवा एक यांनी मागेच एक उपक्रम घेतला होता की सॉकर टूर्स. जसं की काही फुटबॉल मॅचेस आहेत, कोणाची इच्छा असते की युरोपला जाऊन आपण फुटबॉल मॅचेस बघायच्या, पण कलेक्टिव्ह मोटोमध्ये त्या सगळ्या गोष्टी साध्य होत नाहीत. मग अशा सिच्युएशन मध्ये कशा प्रकारे वेगळं आणि काही इनोव्हेटिव्ह टूर्स प्लॅन करता येतील, या याच्यामध्ये त्यांचा कल असल्यामुळे त्यांनी कसं केलंय की तुमच्यासाठी नवनवीन आणि या क्षेत्रातले जे दिग्गज आहेत त्या दिग्गजांचं तुमच्या समोर जे एक मत आहेत किंवा त्याबाबतची इन्फॉर्मेशन आहे, किंवा त्या आपण त्याला आहे ना एक टॅक्स म्हणूया, किंवा ज्या ज्या जे की एरियाज आहेत, जे त्या त्या एरिया मधले आहेत, हे एखाद्या एक्सपिरियन्स माणसाकडनं ऐकण्यातच मजा असते. सो मला असं वाटतं की या सोलफुल कन्व्हर्सेशनची सुरुवात जी आपण करणार आहोत, किंवा आज आपण इनॉग्रेशनचा पार्टच म्हणूया, ते जे करणार आहोत हे एका अशा व्यक्तीच्या हस्ते करणार आहोत. त्यांचं नाव आहे किशोरी गद्रे. मला त्यांच्याबद्दल जास्त काही बोलायलाच नको. याचं कारण का माहितीये का, की महाराष्ट्र राज्य शासनाचा छत्रपती शिवाजी महाराज पुरस्कार हा त्यांना व्हॉलीबॉल या किंवा क्रीडा प्रकारासाठी मिळालेला आहे. आणि त्याआधी नक्कीच मी एकदा दीप्ती आणि अनिकेतला सांगेन की दे शुड शेअर द मोटो ऑफ ऑल दिस, the way they are looking at all these things, and the way they wish to go in front of all of their customer, I should say, or audience. So Dipti, can you take, please?
Thank you, Prabandha. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. This is Dipti Patil from Soulful Journeys. First, I would like to introduce my support system and my partner, Kartiki.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, so Kartiki handles the sales and operations of Soulful Journey, and she's the one who actually goes and does all the research work that कोणाला कुठला हॉटेल चांगलं असेल, कुठला एक्सपिरियन्स कुठे करावा, and find new destinations and things like that. So she is actually the soul of the company, I would say. And for this particular concept that we are coming up I have collaborated with Aniket Gupta, who is, please welcome Aniket, who is a budding entrepreneur and a wildlife naturalist. And his company's name is Aranyachar. And we together want to promote, soulful journeys in real terms. Like people should go to the destinations to actually experience the whole, it should have a complete meaning to it. It shouldn't be just traveling to a particular place and just staying in a hotel. And no, it should be something where you understand the intricacies of that place. So if you go on a wildlife tour with Aniket, for example, then you should not just go and take a selfie and just try to find tigers, but then understand that what is that entire geography all about. Or if you're going with tribals, then how do we respect their traditions? If we are going to a particular heritage site, then what is the history or what was the motive of making that site, and what were the influences that came up towards its architecture. So these are the some of the glimpses of what we intend to do. And I would please request Aniket to introduce himself. Over to you, Aniket.
Yes. Thank you so much, Deepti and Kartiki and Prabandha, for giving such a generous detail into what I do. A quick thing that I would like to say, the reason we all thought of doing this was as travelers, as people who work in the tourism industry, we always seek out as different experiences, newer experiences, and things which are not as fast paced as the typical itineraries that we see in the industry. Uh, we always thought like when we travel, we take it at a different pace. You know, if tomorrow I have to go to a tiger reserve, I do it with much more different experiences than what I usually offer to my guests. And with Aranyachar, this is my exact, you know, calling that I feel like doing that. I want to give the same experiences. A chai at the local nukkad, a samosa at a friend's house, and wildlife experiences beyond just a safari. And similarly with DP, we have been collaborating and we are trying to bring in different experiences in the wildlife, which do not limit yourself to just the animals, but to the people of the landscape, and use tourism to give back to those same people who we work with. And the reason we thought of doing soulful conversations, among other things, is to get people who are from the industry, senior people who have worked and been a part of it for a long time, and share their insights on how they got involved with tourism and how they see the tourism recuperating post COVID. So not just about the COVID, but just better tourism practices in general. So I think I would give the floor back to Deepti, and I look forward to hearing from Gadre ma'am as the session progresses. Thank you all. Please stay tuned.
Thank you, Aniket. So one of the reasons you would ask me why Gadre ma'am. So I would say that I owe my career to her because while working with her in MTDC, she was the one who actually gave me a project on working on things on bed and breakfast sector. So first, let me introduce her. So she is a amazing person, obviously, and she has been working over so many years as a government officer in various capacities across India. She has worked as a Yashada trainer, uh, and especially I would like to mention that she has worked in almost all sectors. I don't think she has left any sector where we cannot, uh, so, ma'am has been a GM in MTDC, and that's the reason, ma'am, actually got a chance to work with her while I was working with MTDC. Ma'am has also worked with Heritage India. Ma'am has worked with on Clean India campaign. Ma'am has worked with Tribal Research Institute Pune. Ma'am is currently working with Trunkall, which is an elephant conservation NGO. and and because ma'am has this all varied identities and her so varied interest, I think she is a perfect person to start with. And let us listen to her. What was her journey all about? Coming to tourism, and what is her interest about tourism? Over to you, ma'am.
Hello, everybody. Kishori Gadre here. Thank you, Dipti, for inviting me for this talk. Tourism was my favorite subject, and I was a government officer, and the job was transferable. But whenever somebody used to get tourism posting, I used to feel jealous. Though otherwise in officers, it was not a very lucrative kind of a posting, but I always felt that this is a very good posting, and when you go there you learn about all those things, and therefore I was very happy being posted in tourism. And the other part of my posting was I had a very good boss, my MD, Mr. Jagdish Patil, because he knew that I want to do something different or something original or something innovative, and he gave me all the freedom to work on that. When I say freedom, all other routine meetings I was not involved in, but I used to do something different. And when I say different, it is not tangent, but something which is needed to be done by government, the original things. So I was really happy working in MTDC, and I could do many things there. In my whole professional life, I think MTDC was the posting where I could really do many things which I thought are right or should be done. And I connected with the industry and all the stakeholders. And that was really the learning part for me. Because when you go to any posting, you generally are not expert there. And there are many people who are expert around you. So you'll have to learn many things from people. So I used to listen to whoever comes to meet me or come with a file or something like that and understand things from them. And I could see that the governance part of tourism has not been understood very well, because MTDC has its resorts, and they sell their resorts, and then what happens is all other people become your competitors, and then promoting industry goes against your philosophy, because then you are part of it. So I started talking to my people saying that how MTDC has evolved for 36 years kind of a thing, and why what we did earlier, that establishing resorts to unknown places, like see, you can see MTDC resorts at various places which were earlier not known to people. One RMD that time, Mrs. Malti Tambe Vaidya, she has been given a helicopter to spot the places which are good to see. And then she identified where to have resorts. And therefore the resorts are there. People started going there. And then the industry followed the suit. And now it is established there. So MTDC somehow becomes a backbencher there. So that role, once my staff understood, my officers understood, then we started doing many other things to promote industry.
Yes, ma'am.
So it was really interesting.
Yeah, and ma'am, you actually introduced so many new initiatives and even technologies. We actually redid the entire website. Also, we also created, ma'am, under your guidance, the all the 16 episodes where we tried to promote the small sectors under Mahabrahman, and we introduced a lot of bed and breakfast schemes. And I think that was the time when we everyone realized that there is so much kind of treasure which is hidden, and there are so many people out there who are working, who are not waiting for someone to start something or not waiting for government to actually start something, and they were the self motivators that आम्हाला हे करायचंय आणि आम्ही करतोय. And all I think what MTDC did was to find those people and try to connect them together and let people know that these are the real people who are working. and that was really something which actually motivated me. And when you allowed me to go for the workshops that we conducted across Maharashtra region, especially Konkan, Pune and all, and so along with Dr. Mukesh Kulkarni, it was a fabulous experience because I could actually meet those stakeholders and I could understand what are their ground level problems and then how we could help them. And and trust me, ma'am, it was so enriching that those people have so much better knowledge than what we call ourselves as tourism experts.
Yes.
They know the
Yes.
real what do you call intricacies or the way they should present it, and they have so many experiences, so they took us to the small little places and keep, ma'am, this should be promoted and this is what we can offer. And I think that has more potential than anything else.
Yes. Yes. See, what happens is generally when you are part of government, you feel like governing things and you feel like dictating things, and you have rules and then some permissions, and all the psyche is attached to that kind of a thing. And when I joined MTDC, I remember in the first week itself, somebody from Konkan area came to me saying that I want to renew my bed and breakfast license. And he had come all the way from Konkan to Mumbai. So I asked him, what is it? I didn't know the scheme also. So I learned about the scheme and I realized that it was not to be made fuss of for these permissions. It is just a thing which these persons have promoted. We are just seeing that the tourists are okay and they are safe there. So only those things to be checked, and that can be done by the regional office. And why he is coming to Mumbai? So in the first fortnight, I moved a file for delegating the powers of Mumbai office to the regional office regarding renewals. Sorry, I think it was
Yes,
disconnected in between. Am I audible?
yes, ma'am, yes.
Uh, the powers to the regional office, and we made a provision that the renewal will be after 5 years. And there was a specific provision there as to what will be checked. And if we don't give permission in specific time, then it will be a deemed permission. So the industry should not be in a flux that I haven't got the permission, I am illegal kind of. And there is nothing illegal. You are continuing with the business, and we will come and check, and it's okay. We are doing it for tourists and not for any other purpose. So we simplified the conditions. There were earlier conditions about the 712 extracts and all the consents of co-holders and all those things. It became so legally heavy. So I made it very simple in the sense they should only address the convenience of tourists, and that should be taken care of. And what the tourists should not be doing, we specified and made it simple for all these people. And we created some 13 episodes of Doordarshan, which reached to all the villages of Maharashtra. And there we call many experts from tourism sector, who were from cultural tourism, heritage, food tourism, and all those things. So they gave their expertise and expert advice and their experience sharing, and that has reached to so many corners of state that I remember we received a call from Ammalner that time from a farmer saying that I was to sell my land because I'm in need of money. But after watching your episode, we have decided not to sell and start agrotourism there. So people are ready to venture into all those things. The government only needs to facilitate and train people. And therefore we also, what I did was, because a systemic arrangement is always necessary, so I created a um, document for creating a directorate of tourism, because MTDC is a corporation and a company and a profit making body. So their outlook or approach will be different because they will be asked different questions. But a government thing which will really do the development part of it, promotion part of it, will be the directorate. That was the initiative taken that time, and that is slowly helping development, destination development in various ways. One other point I would like to mention here is we created plans for each districts of Maharashtra, tourism development plans of 34 districts. There was a GR already there to that respect, but I made it a point to sit with all additional collectors and planning officers of all districts, give them consultants and give them guidance as to how to look at tourism and destination planning and prioritizing and development and participation and all those things. And that way all the district plans are ready, so whoever is from whichever district can really go to that plan and ask the collector to do. And there all those small places which gazetteer has listed down has been tackled in that plan. Very smaller places, unknown places, and they can be created into clusters and all those things. So a huge work of district plans has also been done. That was there.
Right, ma'am. Yes, definitely. Ma'am, I would like to know about what are your thoughts about experiential tourism, and how we can actually focus on experiences rather than the destinations. So
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. I think experience is very much important in the sense that we are all human beings with very sharp brains. So we easily discard things with comparing others and all those things and reduce our pleasure out of it. Because now with this explosion of information and too much of IT, we are all the time seeing things, we are learning things, but the experience is missing. When the AI comes, it will be having more important to have an experience. See, I'm working with this elephant whisperer, Mr. Anand Shinde, and we were trying to do some social media work for Anand Shinde because he talks to elephants and all those things. So we went to one person who was doing social media, and that was a millennial guy. And he said that, ma'am, we are so born and brought up in cement jungles that whatever you are saying about elephants, I'm not really deciphering. So I need to have that experience. Then only I can understand what you are saying. So experiencing things has become very less for urban people, and urban people are the more tourists that we talk about.
Yeah.
So experience is very important. I would like to share one of my experience in experiential sharing. I went for a conference in Ahmedabad, and we went to Sabarmati Ashram. And the guide was showing here Gandhiji was doing this sabha, that sabha, and we were just okay, we are looking at it just because it is great, we were seeing, but no real interest was there. And somebody was sitting there with the charkha, and he was making that dhaga, sutacha dhaga nikat hota. So I was saying, but I thought he is experienced and he is there and he is giving demonstration. So until that time also I was not very much interested in that. But a person from my bus went there and he started doing that. And I said, then I can do it. They said, yes, you can do it. So I said, मुझे धागा निकालना आएगा? And they said, yes, why not? And then I sat there, and with that cotton, that dhaga started coming out, and it was a thrilling experience for me. I can't forget it. I think it is so near to my heart. A small experience, a charkha, but it is so near to my heart because I forgot everything else about Sabarmati, the river development and all, but that charkha is having a place in my mind. So when we talk about experience, people don't know many things. जसं ते विहिरीतनं पाणी काढतात रहाट गाडग्यान. We don't know how much strength you require and all those things. If you try it, then it becomes a part of you. And it's so interesting. And so many such things are there in culture. Though the culture is changing fast and this thing, but still they are there. Even cooking, you know, the dish which you haven't prepared, the traditional dish, it really gives you a pleasure to apply pressure, know the minute difference between where to stop, where to start, and all those things. That really gives you a great. And people have explored it. Many tourism industry people have explored many things. I know many such places. Like one is Junnar here, where Manoj Hadawale does it. There is Shilpa Karkare at I think Turi or Tura, something like that. And they have given such experiences to people. When Manoj used to promote Junnar, I used to laugh at him saying that you're promoting Junnar like you're promoting Kashmir. But he was so much involved in it, and so he had the faith in it that he did it. And he is now the top runner of the tourism, experiential tourism. So yes, experiential tourism is the thing of the future basically, because now you know you get everything by giving out money, but not the experience. And as human beings, we will be required to work less and less in the AI era. And then your brain is there with all its curiosity. What you're going to do with the brain? So it will ask for experience. And the experiential tourism, जितकी आपण कल्पनाशक्ती वाढवू तेवढा आपल्याला एक्सपिरियन्शियल टुरिझम देता येईल. इट डझंट हॅव एनी लिमिट्स.
ट्रू मॅम. आणि मॅम असं झालंय की एक अजून एक फॅक्टर आहे की ट्रायबल्स आहेत किंवा रुरल आहेत ते पण अर्बनायझेशन कडे वळत चाललेत आणि त्यांना कुठेतरी असं वाटतं की हे आपण काय करतोय, आपण पण काहीतरी मॉडर्न हे आपण मॉडर्नायझेशन कडे वळूया. आणि कुठेतरी त्यांना आपल्याला एक जाणीव करून द्यायला पाहिजे की नाही, तुमचं कल्चर तेवढं सुंदर आहे जेवढं इतक्या वर्ष 100 वर्ष जुनं होतं. आणि त्याच्यामधनं कदाचित तुम्हाला त्याचं महत्व नसेल, पण आम्ही जे अर्बन सेटिंग्स मध्ये राहतो, तर आम्हाला ते चुलीवर बनवलेलं जेवण, ती भाकरी, ती आपण जे वाटतो ते सगळं, आणि किंवा शेतावर काम करणं, हे खूप इम्पॉर्टंट गोष्टी आहेत आणि त्या ऍक्च्युली आपल्याला खूप वेगवेगळे अनुभव देतात. आणि त्याच्यामध्ये आम्ही अजून एक गोष्ट हे केली की हे सगळं आपल्याला स्टुडंट्सला दाखवायला पाहिजे. सो वेन अनिकेत टॉक्स दॅट ही वर्क्स विथ लॉट ऑफ स्कूल्स, तर आमचा अजून एक त्याच्यामध्ये विचार होता की हे आपल्या नवीन जनरेशनला ह्या सगळ्या रुरल सेटिंग्स मध्ये घेऊन जायला पाहिजे. सो टुमॉरो इवन इफ देअर एन MBA students, they should know, and that is something that will learn every day from a farmer also, की त्याचा ते प्रोडक्ट्स अँड प्रोसेस मॅनेजमेंट कशी असते, ऑपरेशन्स मॅनेजमेंट और टाइम मॅनेजमेंट. आय थिंक आपल्या एव्हरी डे जे आपण निग्लेक्ट करतो त्या गोष्टींमधनं पण आपल्याकडे खूप काही काही शिकायला असतं. आणि मला असं वाटतं की ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी ह्या रुरल जे आहेत किंवा ट्रायबल्स आहेत किंवा वी कॅन से द एक्सपिरियन्स गिव्हर्स, त्यांच्यासाठी एक खूप प्राऊड मोमेंट असेल की पीपल आर स्टील अप्रिशिएटिंग इट, अँड आय थिंक दे विल टेक सम एफर्ट.
मुद्दा अगदी बरोबर आहे. तू जो प्राऊड मोमेंट म्हणलेस, तर आय थिंक व्हॉट इज हॅपनिंग राईट नाव इज rural people are coming to urban areas to earn their livings, and they are staying here in slums, not a very good condition. They can stay happily in their villages, and still the villages are feeding all these people. But what is happening is, with all this media and TV and these things, they have aspirations to connect with urban people, be with urban people, have those experiences, so they come to cities. So if we, as tourism experts or tourism destination development people, if we can create a status symbol around tourism, as you rightly said, the pride should be there. So if we can create that pride, the same youth who is coming to slums can sit in their villages and show the village to the urban people and be happy about it, because many high-end people will be coming there and he will have that status which he is missing right now. So I think if we can do that and convert those this thing, and I think many people are working around it and they're trying to do it. So if we can like this Konkan global Konkan movement, they're doing the same thing. Even the Krushi tourism people, they are trying to advocate this and reaching out to the farmers and making them do all those things. So, and see, as you rightly said, the culture is changing, but even whatever we are doing is a part of culture. Like मला असं वाटायचं की आता पूर्वीच्या पितळी कळशा गेल्या आणि आता प्लास्टिकच्या कळशा आल्या, आणि मला ते फार वाईट वाटायचं की अरे म्हणजे कल्चर चाललंय, अरे पण ती पितळ्याची कळशी उचलणं किती जड आहे पाण्यासकट, आणि का म्हणून बायकांनी उचलायची, पण त्या कळशीचा घाट राहिला ना प्लास्टिक मध्ये सुद्धा. सो घाट इज ऑल्सो अ कल्चर. सो लेट इट बी, व्हॉट एव्हर वी आर डुईंग इज कल्चर. सो आपण जे करतोय त्याच्याकडे बघण्याची एक आपल्यालाच दृष्टी मिळाली ना, व्हॉट एव्हर स्मॉलर थिंग्स वी डू, because the way we talk to people in our family, the way our relationships are there, they are different from other cultures. If you go to Punjab, they have a different approach towards life. Their family is a different this thing from a Maharashtrian family. Then we can learn many things. So if we can respect the culture wherever we go, then people will share their experiences, talk about them. And I think that is very important. Like for tribal tourism also, tribal tourism should be done by tribals and not by non-tribals. See, in that case what happens is the other people are showing tribals as a showcase thing is not done. It has to be the tribals showing their own culture out of pride. And if they need some training for that, some communication skills or some language skills, see, there are many tribal, a generation of tribal people is very good educated generation. So they can be the bridge, and Ayush is doing that in Dahanu, that organization, that they are becoming bridge between tribal and urban people, and they are taking up such kind of tourism activities. And I think that is more beneficial for both the parties, because we should learn many things from tribals. As urbanized people, we have many problems of stress. See, now all your gurus are telling you to be in present. All the tribal culture is being in present. So you can see how they are in present. Instead of listening to the talk, you can see how you can live being in present. We can learn many things from them. They're so prudent because they are not corrupt by all this development. And we can certainly learn many things from them. It is not only their culture and dance and all those things, their lifestyle, their approach is also very much important for us.
I think tribals are the more advanced, I could say, in terms of societal living, or and it's also the way they look at the nature. Or they don't just worship nature, but they live nature, I would rather say. In all forms, they are truly respecting nature. They everything is depend, like they get everything there from nature. I think Aniket would be able to talk more about it because he also works with tribals and wildlife. And even because you have worked with tribals and wildlife as well, I think you guys can actually speak a lot about it. Aniket, would you like to
Yeah.
comment?
Yeah. So I think the one thing, like ma'am rightly said, when you're doing tribal tourism, it has to come from the tribals. And even when I work with tribals who live in the forest fringes in Madhya Pradesh, we so whenever I work with them, I always make sure to do one thing. I never try to teach them anything. I let them lead at their own pace in their own way. So, for example, I work with a tribe called the Pardis, who have been a nomadic hunting community in the past, and they have always lived in the forest. They have always been one with the wildlife, and they've always been integral to that landscape. They have seen it change over the years, and they have the best knowledge of the landscape, even more than probably a scientist who comes there and studies does. So when I work with them, I ask them to lead a walk, and they lead the walk. In the whole thing, the only role I play as a wildlife tour operator is translation. There are some words that they use, or there is a concept that they are trying to explain, and sometimes there's a language barrier. More often than not, there's a language barrier. They use Khadi Boli, which is a dialect in Bundeli or Bundelkhand. So for them, for normal people, there might be a communication gap, which I try to bridge. But beyond that, we don't try to touch their experience or how they want to conduct it or what do they want to showcase in that truest sense. So, like ma'am said, I think travel tourism has to come from the tribals or the local villager or the local person, rather than it being a cultivated experience which we try to make them do. So it has to come from something that they already is a part of their lifestyle, or for that matter, like beggars. So dance is a big form of their lifestyle. So they say, dance at weddings, they dance at funerals, they dance in courtship between the community, and it is a very essential part of their life. So witnessing that is, not a experience that we cultivate, and we try to do it in as rather than doing like ma'am said, rather than cultivating an experience, I think we should let them do it in their own backyard rather than calling them out to a resort and making them do it in a space that they would not be comfortable with. So I think that is where that sensitivity lies. And I think as wildlife tour operators or generally tour operators, whenever we work with a local community, I think we need to, since we are going to their house and to their land, I think the first right and choice has to be with them, what they want to do, how they want to do it, and whether they want to do it, most importantly. So I think this is my basic idea whenever we work with communities, that we need to be very, very sensitive. And I think one thing I genuinely want to urge everybody, whatever tourism you do, please make sure whenever you are in a village or in a community home or a village or any settlement, please don't take pictures without asking for permission. I think this is something I deeply, deeply object to, and I try to make people as sensitive as possible. But I genuinely feel the need to tell this to everybody I meet, saying whenever you want to take a picture, just ask. If that person says no, don't force it. And never take pictures when the person doesn't know you're taking a picture, especially with a community member. There are certain superstitions, there are certain beliefs, and at the end of the day, it's a point of personal choice and dignity that whether the person wants to be photographed or not. So I think that is just one thing, especially with tribals and local community members. I feel that this needs to be addressed. Deepti, if you can take over.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, that was really insightful, Aniket. Ma'am, I would also like to ask you about why do you think, like, now is a trend that we will do some online bookings and we will just travel on your own, or kind of an unorganized travel market is also coming up very soon, and this online market is coming up very soon. It's already been there, not soon. So, do you think people would be interested in such working with such kind of travel agents, and how can we actually create something as a responsible traveler and letting people know that we should go out there and educate ourselves and be responsible. So what do you think about the entire concept?
Yeah, yeah. I think being a Punekar, I always was for experiential tourism, learning things, this, that. But see, if we see the group of people or the whole of travelers, not all the travelers are seeking some experience. Mostly what happens is some trend is there. One is they want to go to this place or because somebody else has gone and they want to reach there somehow. So all the market games of lower prices, all these things are there. See, beyond that, I think still that the experiential tourism will take a front seat someday, because now our brains are little free for all those things, all those experiences. Because one thing is you have stressful situation at the job, so you want to get relaxed somewhere, and at the same time, if you surrender to an experience and you are not very studious and all, that is a type of experiential tourism. And the other thing is about study, that somebody wants to learn about something, wants to know about something. So I think we are very much in tune with storytelling. So our brains also, they create stories and they love stories. So if a group of people or good tourism operators or tourism enthusiasts, if they start weaving stories around things, then they can create that experience and people will also uh, give that kind of a response to that. Because even a smaller thing, we used to have a heritage walk in Mumbai, in Pune, in Kolhapur, and that heritage walk was all giving all these small stories about on the walk for 2.5 hours, and telling about the buildings, about the history, about the geography, about the traditions, and those stories used to engage people. So the more we use stories, then people will love that, and they will stop going to those run of a mill kind of a um, destination which they right now are trying to go as a trend. So we'll have to convert that trend into storytelling trend. Then people will go with the experienced guides, the knowledgeable guides, and with the experts they will go for tourism. Yes, Dipti.
Yes, ma'am. True. So, ma'am, we are near to the end of the session, but I would like to quickly ask you some few questions of your travel experience. So, which would be your favorite destination? So, will it be a forest, a beach, or a mountain, or a city?
I think it defines whenever I'm trying to do that. I would like to go to some mountain. That is my favorite this thing. And mountains always attract me. And whenever I see Sahyadris from flight, it is really mind-boggling. I love mountains, and that is my favorite thing.
Okay. Yes, I think it is also about what kind of emotions that are running in our
Yeah,
mind that actually
that
attracts
time.
us to a particular
Yeah,
destination. So it has a lot to do with the happy hormones what we
when,
have,
yeah,
and it has
when.
very scientifically connected to everything.
And otherwise, also when I travel, I'm a loner that way. So even if I go with a group, I will slip from the group and go somewhere and sit there, kind of a thing. Instead of chatting there and making halla gulla and all, I'll go and sit somewhere in the nice
Right,
place.
I know. And ma'am, which is the next country would you like to visit?
Pakistan.
We are in.
Yes, I'm really for that experience. And do you know there is a museum in Amritsar which depicts the stories of partition. And it's
Right.
an amazing place. So really, I want to learn about the history of my nation and the part which we have severed from ourselves. And there are people. I always think that there are people, and we should be meeting them sometime.
Yes, truly, ma'am. Pakistan is on my list as well as Aniket's. And one reason is because while I was studying in London, I had so many friends from Pakistan, and I never felt even for a minute that they are from an enemy country or something. And we used to all stay together, share. We used to have the same languages, and we used to always have a topic on biryani ki, bhai ab kab biryani khila rahe ho? And they were generous enough, like, please come to our country, visit us, and there are so many things to experience which are so similar. And one important aspect is our Harappa civilization, which is now a part of Pakistan. And
Pakistan, yes.
I really feel that someday if we could really travel there and meet all these people and hear our stories, it will be really a great experience.
Yes, yes.
Wow. Ma'am, so what is your favorite cuisine except for Indian?
I love every kind of cuisine. Like when I went to China, all the persons in my group were looking for Indian restaurants and Indian food. But I tasted Chinese food, and I always had Chinese food with their this thing. So wherever I go, I always taste the food there and I eat the food there instead of carrying my food with me, because every culture has a very unique way of uh, involving themselves in the food. It is really interesting to taste their food and be with them, understand what they are. See, when I went to China, I understood so many things about Chinese culture, and I started realizing that they are so prudent as and as practical as uh, they should be in their culture. And it was really amazing to learn from them. So mm, I I love every kind of food. I'm a foodie, so I love every kind of food.
Yes, yes, definitely. Okay, so which was your best trip till now, and what was one unique experience which always remained with you? That this is the most memorable trip.
Yeah, I think China. See,
Okay,
I'm talking in such a way that I want to go to Pakistan and China is my favorite and all. It might be very scandalous to talk this way, but yes, certainly China. And I learned many things because we are comparable. See, they are also populated and we are also populated. So we, in any kind of thing, because I am a government officer, I always think of that excuse we take of population for any kind of development. And when I went to China, I realized that it is a myth. And after coming from China, I changed my way of working in government. Because generally what happens is, I call them showstopper excuse. कुछ excuses ऐसे होते हैं कि जहां जाके सब लोग हाँ हाँ क्या ना, लोग ऐसे ही करते हैं, या फिर हमारे कंट्री में कभी नहीं होगा, kind of a thing, and we stop our discussion there. So I started digging down after I came back from China, because I experienced things which are from a similar background, kind of a thing. And that was really a learning experience for me in various ways, like the way they treat English. I went after the Beijing Olympics and I realized that their ministers and officers used to have the translator the interpreter there, because they could afford that. And the street vendors were all trained in English because they can't afford an interpreter. So they knew English. The seniors were not using English. Here, what happens is, here we have given status to English. They have used it functionally. Very intricate difference, and there the Chinese are different from us. They're really practical in various other sense also, changing their names, even their family structure they have changed, because they have one child now, the girl and the boy. Now their family is the girl and boy, and both the parents stay with the couple. They have changed their family structure after the legislation. Generally, we are taught in sociology that these kinds of changes are very slow, but I saw that they're so practical that they adopted that change. So China was really an experience for me. I talk like for hours on China.
Yes, actually, ma'am, like I personally traveled a lot and I stayed with so many of my fellow classmates from different countries, and it actually opened up a total new perspective about people, their culture, and how we can adopt to each other. And I realized that world is not different. I mean, it can be different in the way we look or things, but end of the day, we all are humans, and we still have that something which soulfully connects to each other. I would
Yes,
put it
yes,
in that
yes.
way.
Certainly,
And
certainly.
yes,
And it enriches us. Basically, what happens is you start trusting people, you start opening up, and you're curious. See, your brain is you, and your brain gets all those kinds of signals which enrich you so much that you are a different you when you come back.
true, absolutely. Yes, ma'am, there is so much more we can talk about, but we have some time limitations with us.
Yes.
But it was really a wonderful conversation with you, and I hope that you continue to bless us and guide us throughout our journey into this ventures. And and someday I hope we will travel together and explore this unexplored destination.
Yeah, yeah, we'll go to Pakistan.
Yes, ma'am, please.
So, my best wishes to you, Aranyachar, and you should be setting new trends in the tourism industry. That is what I hope from all you new generation and enthusiastic people. All the very best to you all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Aniket?
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Deepti. It was wonderful having ma'am on board, and you chose the right person to inaugurate with the knowledge and expertise and experience. And I'm very enthralled for China and Pakistan. Both things are now on my bucket list. Even though I might have a slight digression towards wildlife, Pakistan has amazing snow leopards, so I am going to be chasing the mountains in the Hindu Kush, but definitely still on my bucket list.
Yes. So, Kartiki, I think you can just start working on China and Pakistan itineraries and call up the people like when we can travel, when is it the best experiences that we can do. Find a host family as well for us.
Definitely. Very soon.
Yes, please. So, I would like
Okay.
to, yes, ma'am.
No, I was saying I'm thanking you all for all this experience for me. The first Facebook Live I'm doing.
Okay. Thank you so much. And we are looking forward for some more good experiences, experiential talks from our great experts. And keep tuned to our Facebook Live. And we'll meet next Monday with one of our other experts from agrotourism, who is also called the father of agrotourism, Mr. Pandurang Tavre. So please join us on Monday as well. Thank you.